Alright everybody, this is a tour of MEGABENCH. This is designed to be my big workbench, and it's mobile. Move around my shop. And it is designed to house both a work surface for woodworking projects. Presently, my Shapeoko 3 sits on this workbench, which I intend to remedy soon. But it also holds my tool chest for all of my automotive tools, as well as woodworking tools like my drills and my air nailers. And it also includes right now a place for all of my hardware like screws and bolts and things like that, as well as some storage for metalworking equipment and a place for my vise. This is a work in progress, so some of these things might be consolidated or removed, but I'll give you the breakdown of how it all works. First part, which is kind of nice, I've never had before until now, is a place to store some construction paper and random paper that we can use for gluing down things or painting things. I primarily use this paper for glue-ups. Then I have this stack of drawers, which is really useful. Now the top drawer on both my table saw cabinet and this, I have found to be, that's sort of the catch-all for just stuff that gets used all the time, such as pens or a tape measure. Since I use this surface for drilling things a lot and using my Kreg jig, I have drill bits and various pieces for that. And since my Shapeoko's here, I have router bits for the Shapeoko. So this is sort of a catch-all, you know, frequently used pieces are in this top drawer. I love these. They're not really secured down, but I use them for all my Kreg jigs and frequently used items like more Kreg jigs for drilling pocket holes, as well as storage for my drawers. And then I have an electric drill that I basically keep my Kreg drill bit permanently attached to. And I have this drill that I use for most of the screwing, and then I actually have a third Ryobi drill that's currently in the house right now for my basement project. So the first part of MEGABENCH here is this French cleat system, which what you can see here is one shelf that I've used to hold all my hammers. So I've got various types of hammers on here. Most of them are for metalworking, but sometimes you just need a big mallet, which I use for banging things out. Here's a rubber mallet for making softer adjustments to things, and then various metalworking tools. And this is a pretty cheap metalworking hammer set that I bought, I don't know when, a long time ago. And then I also have metal dies on the side. I've only really occupied this one French cleat piece, but I put two units here. So I've got one here, and then one here, one here. On this side, I have a bead roller, which I use from time to time, and I'll get to that. These drawers top drawer, frequently used stuff. So things that are up here are things like these pyramids that are really great for when you're staining things or gluing things up. You can set it off the surface so that you don't make it stick to the surface, or stuff like gloves. This drawer gets used a lot. This is where I have all kinds of random fasteners. This is a very convenient drawer for me, and then this drawer underneath that is all kinds of screws. So it's great for my woodworking screws, my 1 1/4 inch drywall screws are something that I frequently use. These drawers replaced probably a lot of you have in your shops the goofy drawer systems that you can go buy at Ace Hardware that have, you know, a bunch of pull-out drawers. You buy like 6 of those things and they are all misfit, they're all mismatched, and after a while they become less organized than you'd really like them to be. These drawers consolidated all of those into just this area. In the video when I made the center console for the truck, I was using this area a lot. Now, these are both really cool things that my father-in-law gave me. This right here is the best vise in the world. This vise was my father-in-law's, and it was his father's before him. So when my wife and I got married, my father-in-law restored this and gave it to me. And this vise is an amazing vise. It's very stout. It's got plenty of force and weight and mass to clamp things together, and I've used it for welding and all kinds of different things. And it also has this back flat surface, which I've used a lot for forming metal and hammering metal. And then recently, my father-in-law was cleaning out his garage and he found this old piece of a railroad tie, which is awesome. You can use it kind of like an anvil, and I've done that. Put that in the video where I was forming some aluminum. I might modify this, I might not, but right now this spot on the workbench is dedicated to these 2 pieces. Now this work surface you've seen, I built this with a bunch of scrap pieces of wood that I glued together and laminated into this butcher block top. I've already kind of chewed it up a little bit, but it's got a couple layers of General Finishes Armor Seal, and it's been holding up pretty well. It's got pieces of maple, oak, poplar, pine, you name it, it's in here. There's even pieces of old shelving that I had from when I was a kid. T-track that I put in. This clamp allows me to hold down pieces as I assemble them, and I've done this on a couple face frame projects for drawers and cabinets that I've assembled. Those can be assembled via a number of ways, whether it's biscuit joinery or pocket holes, and I'm able to clamp them down right here using this. And I can, when I'm done with this, I can put this in this top drawer here that I mentioned earlier, and it's always here. But then my tool chest fits here, and this is where I have access to most of my wrenches and sockets and various automotive tools and air tools, and they're all right there. So this is sort of the inconvenience of MEGABENCH because it's huge. In my shop, I have a 24 by 24 garage that I built, which is the biggest I could get away with in the area where I live. So this MEGABENCH is occupying a huge work area, and it makes it convenient, but it also is so big and bulky that I have to utilize every side of the bench, all 4 sides. So this faces that direction because that's where the car is, and I tend to use tools here. I also put right here a wood vise. I haven't finalized the design of this vise, but it's partially mounted here, and I need to make some blocks for it to make it clamp. But the idea for this was to be for large pieces of wood that I could have something that I could clamp work pieces here as I work to them. Now, this hasn't really been used much because the Shapeoko is occupying a lot of this. And the Shapeoko is eventually going to go with my mill and drill press in another part of my shop. Now, one of the challenges with MEGABENCH is that it's huge and it's heavy. And so while it rolls, it doesn't roll all that easy. When I built this shop, the only thing I didn't do myself was the concrete. And I had a concrete contractor come in. I gave him the footprint, I told him what I was trying to do, what size door I was going to make. And then he took a few liberties in when he was pouring the concrete, which I trusted him to do because he's the concrete guy, I'm not the concrete guy. And one of the things he suggested was I could put a 4-inch run from the 24-inch length from front to back of the garage, and that will allow you, if you bring in a car and it's got like mud and sleet and water on it, it'll all drain out towards the door. And I said, that's a great idea. Actually, building the garage got me into woodworking. I realized that I needed to level everything, and if I'm using the garage floor as sort of my reference for level, I always have to account for this 4-inch drop, or I do everything in the latitude direction in order to level it. So, and that also means that because MEGABENCH is so darn heavy, that when I'm pushing it, once I'm going in this direction towards the door, it like goes because it's really heavy. And with that, and you saw the top cabinet for my mechanics tools has become part of the work surface. So this is all intended to be exactly level with the work surface that I made here. And just recently I put this little handle here so I could lift this up whenever I want. Like a lot of cabinets, the way this is designed is that this lid needs to be open in order for you to be able to pull out drawers. And when it closes, everything is locked, and that's fine, whatever. Most of this here is sort of general tools. It's not all necessarily automotive tools. So this is a drawer full of pliers and crescent wrenches, which tends to be sort of general purpose grab and cut, push, move kind of things. I use this drawer probably more than any other drawer of tools because I always need pliers or I always need a crescent wrench. So this is a general purpose drawer. And then the second most used drawer is the one with all my screwdrivers, hex wrenches and things. And then riveting tools, which I just recently started using. A random drawer that I don't use that all that often, but it's nice to have, is for electrical tools. My ratcheting wrenches are, and I'm going to change that. You might remember the video where I was making the drawers, and I played around with trying to make dovetail drawers. Out of plywood, and it just shredded them to pieces. So these are actually those dovetail drawers. And this drawer handle is just, these are random pieces of maple stock that I cut down with a 45-degree angle, and I use them as the drawer pulls. This set of drawers is intended primarily for metalworking kind of stuff. Metalworking dies, as well as the dies for my bead roller from Woodwork Fab, as well as dimple dies that I used for forming aluminum. And then the one below that is where I keep my angle grinder, which needs to be next to the vise, because more often than not, when I'm pulling this sucker out to grind something, I'm clamping something in the vise and I'm cutting it off. And then I have some other tools like taps and dies. Here's some other stuff that I'm not quite sure what to do with, like my soldering iron. It's really important for that to be out of the dust, which is why I wanted it in a drawer. So that concludes the tour of MEGABENCH. You know, it could be smaller. If I have open, empty space, workspace, I fill it. And the Shapeoko sitting here is evidence of that. I use my table saw cart and MEGABENCH in everything I do. And so if you're looking at organizing your tools, I strongly recommend one or more workbenches with dedicated workstations on wheels as part of your shop. That's something everyone should have. So overall, I'm pretty pleased with this project. Thanks for watching.